business room.
Morning, Joe. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the second of our 2022 series on the state of the economy presented by PCSB Bank. And today we are focused on development. And I'm sure you have all noticed the changing skyscape and landscape of Westchester County's cities and villages and towns, as these wonderful group of people, these leaders in Westchester County who are creating new jobs, new opportunities to live and to work and to play, and adding to the vibrancy of Westchester County, build wonderful, wonderful developments. And so we're here today to talk about development in Westchester County. And the Business Council of Westchester is very proud to host the Coalition for Smart Development, which is led by John Ravitz with the great help of Mark Weingarten and Patricia Lynch. And we are very, very proactive in terms of supporting our developers, providing education and training and opportunities and legislative action. So we want to thank everyone for your participation, for your generosity in supporting the communities that you serve, and for all that you do to make Westchester a great place. And that's what the state of the economy is about. I'd like to first introduce Michael Shaliro, a member of the Business Council of Westchester Board, and here today in his professional capacity as Senior Vice President of Commercial Lending for PCSB Bank. Mike?
Thanks so much, Marcia. Really appreciate the opportunity to sponsor this worthwhile series of the state of the economy. Today's event obviously is development. I want to thank the panelists. We have a terrific group this morning of expertise that we're all going to be able to learn from. And I wanted to add one thing to what Marcia said about all the things she mentioned and also the entrepreneurship part. So everybody on this screen and people like them take the risk to purchase property and develop. And there's no guarantees on anything, but we should all make sure that we appreciate the fact that they do that to make our home, Westchester County, a better place to live. I also want to thank the Business Council for initiating these dialogues on this entire series, and development couldn't be any more important than the others. And also, I just want to put a plug in for the Business Council, because people that are watching that aren't members, you'll see the value of the Business Council in an event like this. So always consider joining and becoming a member. With respect to the bank, PCSB, we're proud of the work that we've done in Westchester and surrounding counties on the real estate side, on the development side, whether it's the tiny $100,000, $200,000 real estate loan, all the way up to the 10, 20, 25, $30 million real estate loan. We're proud to be part of the fabric of that community and working with people like panelists like this, again, to further development, further the economy, and make Westchester just a better place to live. And as our tagline is, the incredibly neighborly community bank, we take that seriously. Even though we are a commercial bank now, we really take a lot of pride in getting involved in all the villages and towns and cities, like Marcia mentioned, and working with developers to make those places a better place. That's it. I'm anxious to hear from the panelists this morning. I want to thank the Business Council again, John Ravitz, Marcia Gordon, and their teams for assembling this series. And I do want to promote the upcoming two events. One is on April 20th. One is on May 11th. The first is arts and culture. The second is nonprofits. All are critical to what we do in our business and our lives in Westchester County. But with that, I'm going to send it back to Marcia. Panelists, thanks for being here, and can't wait to hear what you have to say. Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you, Mike Shaliro, and thank you, PCSB Bank. Very much appreciate your support and all you do as a community bank for our community. It's really terrific. I want to also thank our other sponsors, Simone Development Companies. Simone Development Companies is a full-service real estate investment company specializing in the acquisition and development of healthcare, office, retail, industrial, and residential properties. The vertically integrated, privately held company owns and manages more than 7 million square feet across 130 properties in the Bronx, Westchester County, Queens, Long Island, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Of course, we had the pleasure of having Guy Liebler on our last webinar, focusing on healthcare, as that is one of the major projects that Simone Development Company works on. So Joe Simone, Patricia Simone, Joanna, and the entire team, thank you so much. Also want to especially acknowledge the Westchester County Office of Economic Development, and especially its director, Bridget Gibbons. The Westchester County Office of Economic Development in 2022 is focused on workforce development in the context of the big resignation. We know that workers want to commit themselves in a way that means more and offers long-term, engaging career paths. And the office is really focused on that. In 2022, the Office of Economic Development will be rolling out several new training programs to help workers obtain jobs in the vibrant workforce in Westchester that offers well-paying, in-demand careers in healthcare, construction, and advanced manufacturing. To learn more about the county's efforts, go to westchestercatalyst.com/work. Bridget, and of course, our county executive, George Latimer, thank you so much for your great leadership. And our final sponsor today is our partner in so much, RM Friedland. RM Friedland celebrated its 50th anniversary in 2020. They are a market-leading company specializing in office, industrial, retail, development, and investment real estate brokerage in New York and Connecticut. RM Friedland is the largest commercial real estate brokerage company headquartered in Westchester County. I want to acknowledge their president, Sarah Jones-Maturo, and also invite you all to visit our data page at the bcw.org/data, because RM Friedland is supplying all of the data on commercial real estate. So Sarah and your team at RM Friedland, thank you very much. And now, before we dive into the substance of the program, I'm going to introduce, just by their titles, you will get to know them, our very esteemed panel today. First of all, William Balter. It's okay if I say Bill Balter, by the way, who is winning our Hall of Fame Entrepreneurship Award this month, is the president of WBP Development, LLC, and Griffin Construction. Welcome, Bill. Louis Capelli, the founder of the Capelli Organization and chairman and CEO, LRC Construction and Fuller Development Company. Welcome, Louis. Joe Cotter, the president of National Resources. Welcome, Joe. Rella Fogliano, Chief Executive Officer of McQuestion Construction Management. Welcome, Rella. David Garten, Senior Vice President, Corporate Affairs for RXR. Welcome, David. And Andrew Weiss, Executive Vice President, RPW Group. Welcome, Andrew. So I think we are all set up to, I'm going to turn my page here, to dive into what we hope will be some robust conversation. So Bill Balter, I'm going to start with you. Bill, you and your company are so committed to affordable and mixed income housing. Can you talk about some of your upcoming developments?
Sure. So Wilder Balter has really made an effort for the last 30 years to develop in the Hudson Valley, but particularly in Westchester County. We're currently building affordable and mixed income developments in Lewisboro, in Peekskill, we just completed development with a partner in New Rochelle, and we're now starting to head toward a closing on Maple Avenue in New Rochelle on a development that'll be done in the fall. we have new developments that we're partnering with housing authorities in a couple of communities in Westchester, in Peekskill and in Tarrytown, where we're taking their portfolio and updating them, and in certain cases, building new buildings. In Tarrytown, we're also working in a development where we're taking the former YMCA property on Main Street, and we're converting it into a municipal garage and 109 55 and over apartments, and rehousing the men who live there now, right in the downtown. In other developments we're having the pipeline, we're working in Irvington on a new development right off of Broadway, again, right near the downtown. And in Edgemont, we're going to be building their first affordable development, maybe ever, but certainly in the last 30 years, right off of Central Avenue. All of that is sort of actively going on now. So we're working in about 8 or 9 communities in Westchester County, combination of, again, affordable housing and workforce housing. It's really a very exciting time to be here, notwithstanding all of the struggles with supply chain and finding workers. It's just a great time to be working in Westchester.
Great, Bill. And I know everything you do is really done certainly with building great properties, but also with a great heart and with a great vision. And I know especially you have been part of all 3 downtown revitalization initiative communities. Those are the communities that have received $10 million from the state in a very competitive process. So you were part of New Rochelle, Peekskill, and now Ossining. Why has that been so important to you?
Yeah, what all of us do on the phone is very hard to do. And we look as a company to work in communities that are really actively engaged in economic development and in planning the growth of their downtowns. I think a couple of our developments, particularly a development we're working on with the village of Ossining on their former DPW site, sort of part of their economic planning and probably part of why they actually got the DRI award. We're working on these communities that want growth, they want what we're doing, and they need what we're doing. So we really look to that. I think in New Rochelle, obviously everyone knows the success they've had. We're a small part of that. In Peekskill, the development we're doing there is right in their downtown, and it creates housing opportunities that are desperately needed in the city of Peekskill. I think that also helped for Peekskill to win. Next to that development, we're working on a Boys and Girls Club that we're doing just because it's such an important thing for the city of Peekskill. I think having that Boys and Girls Club there probably helped them to win the DRI, and certainly I think it's a great result of the DRI is that it's partially funding that. So the synergy of sort of what we're helping the communities with, and then with the state investing, it's just the wonderful combination of ingredients that makes these developments and these communities thrive. So we're really thrilled to be a part of it.
Bill, I've had the honor of co-chairing those local planning committees. And currently being the co-chair of the Mid-Hudson Regional Economic Development Council. And so I've seen how those communities have really welcomed your work and welcomed you being part of the process. So thank you very much. Louis Capelli. First of all, let me correct the name of your company. I think I had the wrong name, so forgive me. From Capelli Development Company. Am I saying it right now, Louis?
As long as it starts with a Capelli, it's fine.
Okay, great, got it. Now we all know when we look at White Plains and New Rochelle and other areas over the years, this man is really responsible for the transformation, for the Renaissance. And Louis, seems like you are now continuing to remake and to revitalize White Plains. What can we expect to see in the future?
Well, it's hard to imagine what is actually going on right now in the form of the construction development side. The New Rochelle Renaissance and White Plains Renaissance is moving. New Rochelle actually is the one to be first spoken about, I think, because they did something 5 years ago that nobody else ever did. Because getting approvals in Westchester County has up to a certain point, been years to get approvals and to go through all the process and to get things done. And I'm just going to go to New Rochelle because New Rochelle is where we have most of our activity right now. And They passed the citywide secret process and they approved 5,000 units there in New Rochelle, and you had a 90-day approval process. So you could go in with your own site and you could go and get a site plan approval in 90 days instead of going through secret process and going through a year and a half. What's happened down there in New Rochelle since we built in 1995 New York City, and since we built in 2006 what was the Trump building, now 175 Huguenot, very successful, and the retail, there was a lull for us. But back in 2017, 18, when they passed this New Rochelle, let's just say a global approval of units and did the secret for the entire city, since then, the explosion of development and construction down there has been, I don't even know how to describe it except insane. Right now, we're involved in $1.3 billion worth of development that's either being finished as we speak now, turning over exact one to RXR on Friday, April Fool's Day, and one to Related, and we have 4 more under construction, all high rises, 28 stories, and they are all rental, rental housing, high-end luxury rental housing. But since then, we also built a project called The Standard, which is a nice micro building, 115 units. We finished it a year and a half ago, and we've been 103% leased. And what's really happening here is somebody would say, and they've been saying in New Rochelle, for example, they've been saying, well, it's too many units. No one's going to come. There's how are you going to fill them? And incredibly, when you look at 360 Huguenot that David's group did, and they're full, and the rents are higher than they pro forma'd. And when you look at where we're going to open up in Huguenot Street and everything going on, it's the build it and they will come. I believe 14 LeCount's doing great with Bill's involved. I mean, it's kind of a phenomenon when you look at the supply and the amount of people that are actually now truly coming in paying above market rents. Yes, inflation is causing that. But when you think about it in Westchester, 1,500 units, 2,000 units in a community pales by comparison to New York City. And when you can come up here for half the price and take a train 30 minutes to get to New York City, if you want to go to New York City and you work there, at the end of the day, it's very desirable. So all of these units we're building in New Rochelle, which are 2,000 units under construction now and or just finished, we have no doubt will be rented and will be rented by high quality individuals and rented at great prices for Westchester County.
And Louis, if I can for a minute, I know the mayor is watching, so we want to acknowledge him. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your
Yes.
leadership.
Yes, the city of New Rochelle has been, through the mayor and the city manager and everybody involved in the city, the mayor and the city manager, everybody, it's been probably one of the greatest places to work as it relates to that. And one thing, Marcia, that we've been working with you and we're starting construction on a 4,000 square foot apprenticeship a facility at 175 Huguenot, which is now under construction.
Yeah.
So I know that you have been very hard working with Bill and others on making sure that we have local hiring and apprenticeship hiring in New Rochelle and in White Plains and other places. So we are now embarking on building those classrooms that you've very nicely put together with BOCES and West Tab.
Thank you. Thank you, Louis. White Plains, can you talk 2 or 3 minutes about White Plains? And then we'll come back.
I think White Plains is, it's got the potential of certainly being a larger development situation than New Rochelle because of just the land mass and because of the infrastructure of the roads and the train. White Plains is just now coming into its own. It wasn't before because the approval process was a long time. Now at this point, I think they appreciate that we're here. Now all of us are here. There's money around, and I don't think White Plains wants to miss the boat, so to speak, anymore. I think they're on track right now. We're doing finishing the job that is on Mamaroneck Avenue. It's for Gray Star, for Lennar. It's called MMP. It's 500 units. It's right, the first building, you can walk out the front door and actually, like New York City, be on Mamaroneck Avenue and be on the street. It's going to be fantastic to look at. It's going to revitalize the downtown. And the other sites we're working on really is, again, approximately 2,000 units. We're working on Greystar's job, which we started, big hole in the ground next to the train station, which is 500 units, and that's gonna be done in 2 years. We just got approved at a site we have here, the Westchester Mall, Hamilton Green. That's 850 units. We're starting in June. One of our partners is RXR. The other is probably Greystar. And that's gonna start in June and be a 4-year project. And Toll Brothers and others are working here. So since the Ritz was built in 2008 and 9, and since City Center was built in 2005, White Plains is probably poised now to become thousands of units, well-deserved and in great locations with a great train station renovated. It's going to be a great place now to build.
And for those of you who might not know, it was Louis Capelli who was responsible for City Center and the Ritz. So Louis, thank you. Thank you for your continuing commitments. You are really a transformational leader. We thank you.
I'm retired.
Not yet. Not yet. Joe Cotter, how exciting. Hollywood has come to Yonkers. Tell us about Lionsgate. Joe, you're on mute.
Sorry for that.
That's great. We hear you.
Thank you. I just want to commend Louis Capelli. He's the only one I know who can say he has buildings that are 103% leased, but you learn something every day. Well, welcome to Yonkers. In the last 3 years, we've been working very diligently with a group called Great Point Media, and we're in the process of building 10 film and movie studio stages in Yonkers, right in the old Otis Elevator. This will be the largest studio complex in the Northeast, and it will surpass both Steiner and Silver Cup and other ones you may know. We've been fortunate enough to have Lionsgate as our anchor, but we're in an opportunity zone and we're right at a train station, TOD, and it's truly been a transformational project for the city. It's going to create approximately 1,500 jobs over the next 3 years. And we're filming already. We're shooting a film called Run the World that's currently in process. And there's just a lot of excitement and activity down there. So the city of Yonkers, Mayor Spanos put together a great team. And we've been working hand in glove with them to move this thing along, but it's been a fun and exciting period for us.
It truly is. And when we look at Yonkers and we look at Tarrytown, you've done so much work there. And also, and this is near and dear to my heart, because I came to the Hudson Valley because of IBM East Fishkill and had close ties to IBM Kingston as well. And you're doing work at those former plants. So even though we're focused on Westchester, we are a Hudson Valley region, and they're doing very, very exciting things in Yonkers, in Tarrytown, and other places, and now East Fishkill and Kingston. What are you seeing in terms of growth throughout the Hudson Valley?
Well, our company has always specialized in acquiring former industrial sites and redeveloping them. It's always been a smart growth strategy, really to focus on taking existing infrastructure and trying to renovate it and modernize it, if you will, and be creative. At the IBM East Fishkill site, we bought approximately 3.5 million square feet of a 464-acre site. And we've leased about 1.5 million square feet, primarily to a lot of food manufacturers, among others. And then we're doing some warehouse development. We've brought in Frito-Lay, Pepsi's doing a big site, Amazon's in the site contiguous to us, and we're working on 2 other big boxes. We're also doing a backlot studio complex up there, which is exciting as well. So we're virtually 100% leased.
Wow.
One of the key ingredients is we've always tried to introduce the arts into our project. So we've built an art center, and it tends to coalesce the local community, particularly in properties that have been, we call them sterilized. IBM had 20,000 people there in its
Mhm.
heyday, and when we took over, they had 2,000.
I
Uh,
remember when it had 20,000. I was the head of the Chamber of Commerce there in the 90s when IBM downsized. You don't want to have that job.
No, I can imagine, but bringing, to life the dead bodies is not as
Wonderful.
easy
It's
as one
fabulous.
would think, but it's very exciting. And there, the local supervisor, Nick D'Alessandro, he's been, also very pro-growth. I mean, it's really about the leadership of the communities. And in
Mhm.
Kingston, which is a little further out of our purview, we're taking over what was called Tech City. It's about a 300-acre site. And it's probably our hardest project because it's been neglected for much longer than most. So we're excited. We're going to be doing a zero carbon footprint residential project up there. We hope 600 to 800 units that will be carbon free, only electric vehicles, and we're going to have some fun with it. So that's sort of an exciting project for us on the horizon.
And Joe, talk a little bit about Tarrytown, what you've done in Tarrytown.
Well, in Tarrytown, we're working on 3 projects there. We really want to finish the waterfront. I mean, we have the marina. We're hoping to do a hotel or a botel there. We have a little more residential to complete. We have also the former Cooney building we're renovating. So I think Tarrytown, it's just really completing the masterpiece. It still has, 1 or 2 more phases left, but the waterfront, I think, is really shined, particularly during COVID. It became a place for almost all of Westchester to come, and the lungs of Westchester, as they say. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
been a very exciting town for us.
Well, thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for being creative in every way. And thank you for revitalizing sites in the Hudson Valley that really needed revitalization. So thank you very much. Rella Fogliano. Rella, you have such a unique vision of what affordable housing and workforce housing should look like. Can you address your housing in McQuestion, and especially your commitment to Southern Westchester?
Thank you, Marcia. Wow, I mean, a lot of hard acts to follow. I must say, it's nice to be working in my own backyard. Unlike the others on this panel, I was mostly New York City centric in the boroughs. I did one affordable senior housing project in Yonkers back in the early 2000s, and I said I'll never do anything in Westchester again because of and I don't know if Bill has had this experience, but it was the not in my backyard kind of thing. And fortunately, although I came a little bit kicking and screaming, but fortunately I had the opportunity in New Rochelle to build the 3 phases of heritage homes, which took down the old Hartley houses that were run by the New Rochelle Housing Authority. And they were built in 1947, so they didn't have any of the modern amenities that we were able to do by building up heritage homes, 225 units, townhouse style community, which is really, really very, very pretty. As far as my vision, I just don't feel that affordable housing should look any different than luxury housing. So it takes a few dollars out of my pocket to use special materials inside and out. But I think that the rewards are tenfold. I don't want anybody to look at one of my buildings and say, oh, that's an affordable housing, and we did 189 units in Mount Vernon.
Beautiful.
That was
gorgeous
really,
development.
Thank you very much. Very, very industrial. And it's a building that has mixed income. So you basically have a community within a community, and it's right next to the train station. So it worked. I was a little hesitant, a little nervous to put apartments that are renting at 110% of the area median income, but people want to be there. And it's been wonderful. We're also working in Very excited to be working in Yonkers again. We have a project that's going through approvals in the center of Yonkers, not too far from the waterfront, 76 units of affordable housing. And we just acquired, I shouldn't say acquired, I'm sorry. We just in contract for another property that's on the Riverdale Yonkers border. So we're doing a lot in Yonkers right now. We're going through the approvals in Ossining with Bill. It's been challenging, but we're very excited about building 76 apartments that are for seniors, because seniors are having, especially in Westchester is expensive, you know, the AMIs are high. And for seniors who want to live in a community-like setting with all of the amenities without having to support a home, it's a great place to be. And Ossining is a wonderful village to live in. So those are some of the things that we're doing. Hopefully another project in New Rochelle very soon.
Wonderful, Rella. You're just doing more and more. And I have been to your apartments and the homes that you create, and they are magnificent. And you've also done a lot of work on brownfield sites. Can you discuss what's involved with that and the positive change for the communities when that happens?
It's a win-win situation, especially the marriage between brownfield and affordable housing. I think it would be as challenging as affordable housing is to do, especially in this day and age where now interest rates are going up and we have the issue with the materials. Doing the brownfields, having those credits are really able to jumpstart affordable housing. So the 22 Southwest in Mount Vernon was a brownfield site, not as large as anything that Mr. Capelli has done before, but for me it was a large project, especially I was new to brownfield at that time, but it really changes an industrial area to something that's livable. And what's better than an area, than a building that's livable and that people don't have to look at this, you know, contaminated site. We're doing the same in Ossining. We're cleaning up a large stretch of what was once a nursery, a gas station, a construction site. And so we're very excited about that because people need to live, it's a quality of life. You know, people need affordable, that's beautiful, and that is free and clear of contamination.
Absolutely. And I know, Rella, your company and yourself and Joe Apicella, you've been leaders in the legislative process on brownfields. We work with you on that. And we thank you. We thank you and we commend you. So thank you. Thank you very much. David Garten, RXR. RXR has certainly changed and enhanced the skyline of New Rochelle and Yonkers with multi-residential housing. Talk to us about your leadership in that area and the response to those apartments. Who's living there?
Thanks, Marcia. Thanks for having this panel. And thank you to the BCW in general. Every time I have a question on anything policy related, business related, I know I can give you or John a call, and you guys have always been stepped up and not only been thinking it through much better than we have, and you've been just a tremendous resource. So thank you. And by the way, on Lewis's introduction, it's kind of like Madonna. I just say Capelli, everybody nods, and they understand where Lewis is from. And by the way, Lewis, if you're retired, your definition of retirement is very different than others. So you look good, very retired. But anyways, Marcia, the question in terms of Yonkers and New Rochelle, Lewis kind of said it right out the front of the forward thinking of the leadership at Yonkers. We are a small component. Joe mentioned all the development that's taking place within that city. We have a 438 unit apartment building, residential building just off the train station, but we are one of many multifamily. And it's from the forward thinking of the leadership in the city of Yonkers, the daylighting of the Sawmill River. Our site is also on a brownfield. So Rella, as you rightfully pointed out, that not only how important that brownfield tax credit is to unlock that value and to create something that is incredibly unique and vibrant. But one of the things, as you mentioned, the skyline, Marcia, yes, we have been developing, but as Lewis pointed out, it is a partnership with the community that is incredibly important. The city of New Rochelle, what they did 6 years ago was incredibly forward thinking in placing the city in a position, not only pre-pandemic, recognizing there are tremendous affordable challenges and housing challenges in New York City, but coming out of the pandemic has really highlighted the need for more housing, and the fact that New Rochelle had that forward thinking, thoughtful process that wasn't just we want to develop for the sake of development. It was thoughtful development on where it was going to be at, what were the types of parcels that were going to be used, how was the development going to benefit the local community, how are we going to bring in new residents, and it's really been a game changer. We have one building, 360 Huguenot, again worked with Lewis on, 98% leased. And it's while it is April Fool's Day, yes, we are going to open up One Clinton Park, 352 units, absolutely beautiful, 13,000 square feet of retail space on the ground floor. There's going to be open space as well. We're in the process of also, we've partnered with Georgia Green for a 219 affordable unit right across from the train station. That's going to be, that's also going to include 77 units for families that had been impacted for domestic violence. And to Lewis's point and others that have made, Bill and others have made, given the affordable challenges that are taking place in New York City, because let's be honest, we have underbuilt when it comes to housing. It is very difficult to build right now as a city as a whole. While we reached a low of 82% vacancy, we're now at 98%. And we have some of the highest rents on record. We have a development in downtown Brooklyn, and there are about 143 affordable units that we put out on the lottery. We've received 11,000 applications for just 143 units. And some of those affordable units in downtown Brooklyn, you can get a market rate unit at our place at One Clinton Park that's going to open on April 1st at comparable rates for the affordable rates. And at the same time, given New Rochelle's proximity to access to the Metro North train station, you have a greater chance of getting to Midtown Manhattan faster, quicker, more efficiently than you would in downtown New Rochelle. And that is because of the forward-thinking leadership of New Rochelle, but also it's the many inherent benefits of Westchester, right? I mentioned New Rochelle, I mentioned Yonkers, Mount Vernon, all the parks, everything that Westchester has to offer. It provides a great sort of formula for growth. And the question that many municipalities are going to be facing in Westchester is, how do you take advantage of these inherent benefits to capture that growth? Because what we have done in Yonkers and what we have done in New Rochelle, we're actually replicating around the country. We're moving forward on multiple projects in Phoenix, a major project, very similar master development project in Raleigh, North Carolina, Tampa, and others. And really, it was Westchester County that served as that sort of seedbed and demonstrated that it is possible to have growth, to have something that benefits the local community and still continue to thrive.
Thank you for that, David. We're going to take that quote and use it, because I think that's very, very, very telling about Westchester's leadership and Westchester's innovation, which we're going to come back to. Now, David, your company also made a significant investment, as did others here, back in New Rochelle during COVID. So we want to thank you for that. I know you worked with the Community Foundation also. How did that work?
Yeah, our mantra as a company is doing good and doing well means doing better. What does that mean? It is the idea and the belief that a true corporate citizen is caring about those issues that affect us directly, but also those issues that affect us indirectly. And that has sort of been in the ethos since the company's founding, and the ethos of the founders, Scott Reckler, Mike Maturo, Jason Barnett, and Todd Reckler. And that filters throughout the company, and that also filters throughout their development. We've been very fortunate to develop in a place like Westchester and Yonkers and New Rochelle. And as we all know, it's one of the reasons why we're holding this session virtually and not in person. COVID had a huge impact on how we live, work, and operate. And while it was only 2 years ago, but I'm sure for New Rochellians, there was that containment zone that was first put in place, a mile containment zone in the city of New Rochelle. They were the early epicenter of the pandemic. And we thought it was incumbent upon us to be there for our neighbors in their time of need. We wanted to be part of a strong corporate citizen in that company, in that community. And 2 years ago, we launched a $1 million COVID relief fund. And that it went to funds everything from looking at food insecurity, helping out the restaurants in New Rochelle, a small business program in which a number of small grants went to small women and minority-owned businesses. And we weren't alone. While we did the $1 million, Lewis also, Capelli also contributed that, and others contributed that. And so it was one of those things that we recognize that we don't have a monopoly on good ideas. We want to serve a good corporate citizen, but we were able to have other people also join. And so when you actually have that collaborative effort, working with Bill, working with Lewis, working with the community, and working with so many others, we find you can have a much bigger and greater impact. So in addition to our philanthropy program, we actually launched a program called RXR Volunteer, because what we found ourselves throughout the pandemic, many of us were sitting at home, lots of Zooms, lots of time on our hand. And unlike past crises where you want to kind of go help and be there, we couldn't physically be there. So we set up a matchmaking program where small businesses could connect with experts, either within RXR, some of our tenants, et cetera, to how do you access a PPP loan? How do you transition when you had a restaurant or a business that was primarily physically oriented to a digital oriented? And so that has grown exponentially. We've helped multiple businesses and organizations throughout Westchester as well, throughout the region. But it's one of those things that we continue to do throughout all our development, and it's one of the things that to us it's part of our development plan and our business plan moving forward.
Thank you. And it's certainly part of your values and your company culture at RXR. And for that, we thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Andrew Weiss, RPW has evolved from owning property to being property developers. But let me stop there, because the Business Council Westchester is located in the most beautiful building at 800 Westchester Avenue, right down the hall from RPW Group offices. And we love being there. We love being there. How is all of this?
We love having you, Marsha.
Thank you. How is all of this development impacting the office leasing environment in Westchester County?
Thanks, Marsha, and thanks to you and the team for putting together another great event. Historically, we've been office owners and developers, and the struggle was always very consistent. Existing tenants couldn't find housing for employees, and so they would look to other markets to work out of, and prospective tenants had the same issue. And frankly, up until a couple of years ago, that problem was consistent. Now, tenants are coming out to the market with their tour books, and on the map, they have the prospective buildings they're looking at, and corresponding with that are the many multifamily developments that are online or coming online within close distance to those office buildings, along with all of the new retail and diversified uses that have been introduced to the county, like the Lifetime Fitnesses and the Wegmans of the world. So the tenants that previously couldn't find housing for their staff now all of a sudden start to have options. And so we're particularly excited about that, and we think that this is incredibly positive for the county. It's what we've needed. Just about a decade ago, the office stock in Westchester consisted of about 33 million square feet of office space. We're now about 25 or 26 million feet. So that means 6 or 7 million feet of space has been repurposed, whether it's been medical, biotech, and the various diversified uses that I've mentioned, has made this to become a much more vibrant market. and it is allowing the office market to start to get to a point of stabilization. So, I mean, we're particularly excited and bullish about where the office market's headed.
And Andrew, your company, RPW Group, has talked often about the need for mixed-use communities. You touched on it before, but can you give some other examples of what that actually looks like?
Sure. So the appeal of walk to the train is obvious and is very attractive. But we're particularly focused and excited on combining office parks with residential and retail. We are in September delivering with our partner, the NRP Group, 300 units at 1133 Westchester Avenue. That's a 70-acre site that we've owned for many years. We subdivided 20 acres of the site to build these 300 units. And we really see it as a maximization of the site. The office and the residential and retail really have a lot of synergies. You can share parking, you can share the shuttle to the train, you can share cafeterias, gyms, daycares. And you know, the live, work, play gets thrown around a lot, but I do believe that is the order of the day. And Westchester is really coming around to that and embracing that. And I think being able to potentially work and live on the same site and take the shuttle to Wegmans and take the shuttle to Lifetime and maybe go to downtown White Plains is exciting and is what is attracting talent to Westchester. At the end of the day, companies are looking to hire the right talent. And I think we're now with these projects able to start offering the type of product that these people want to live in.
Thank you. That's a really important point. It's a good point to kind of move to the next part of this program. I think as most listeners know, the Business Council of Westchester this year has been focused on developing a culture of innovation in Westchester County. And under the great leadership of our chairman, Dr. Heidi Davidson from Galvanize Worldwide, we're really focused on innovation and showcasing innovation. And so let's talk very quickly. We're going to kind of do this as a lightning round because there are some great questions I want to get to on Westchester County strengths, how the strengths, the challenges relate to development, and most important, what innovations have you incorporated into development? So, Bill, innovations. We're going to do this quick. If you can do it quick, and if you don't want to do it, it's fine too.
Sure. Well, we're really embracing high performance construction. I think Westchester's a leader in so many ways. The state's a leader in so many ways. But for ourselves, we're doing high performance construction pretty much everywhere we go. What's interesting, Joe mentioned a development he's doing that's all electric cars. I love the idea. I think that type of innovation in a place like Westchester, it builds the brand for Westchester and it's good for everyone.
Great. Louis Capelli?
I still have a BlackBerry, but notwithstanding that, I have a lot of high-tech people, IT people around me. We are making every building, I know the ones we're working with are related ourselves, every building has whatever the highest, or the newest IT, I'm not gonna say gadget, but devices, whether it's locks, whether it's controlling everything from the phone, whether it's HVAC. We even ourselves, have put in our projects, our new projects opening up in a month. We bought 3 Teslas and we put them in there and we're going to let our tenants use them. But I would say that we have not left one thing on the table, nor has RXR and others we work with on the smart technology, smart home innovation things that are everybody today who's renting wants that. They need that.
Wonderful. You might not know this, but our chairman, Dr. Heidi Davidson, before she started Galvanize Worldwide, was a senior executive at BlackBerry. So I'm sure she's smiling. Joe Cotter, innovation.
A couple of quick things. We try to reuse existing infrastructure. We think that's truly smart growth. And we're also working with some hydroponics. We're growing some of our own fruits and vegetables for some of our cafes, tenants, and in the studios, and we think that's going to be a nice trend for the future.
Love it. Rella?
Free broadband for everyone in the building.
Fabulous, fabulous, and so important that we must erase the words digital divide. So thank you, thank
Exactly.
you, thank you. David Garten and RXR Innovation.
Yeah, Lewis touched on it, the technology that we've embedded throughout our properties, but what we're trying to do also though is how do you merge that technology and the physical infrastructure to create a whole new experience? Lewis is right from the standpoint of if you build it, they will come, but a differentiator is a new type of experience, right? And so what we have what's called a resident experience program. It's RXO for short, where we've developed our own trademarked app for all of our residents to know not only of the programming that's taking place in the existing building, to have a very clear idea of what air quality in the building, to pay rent, except all these different things of how do you make an experience within our buildings much more curated and much differentiated from our competitors.
Very, very interesting, very interesting. And Andrew Weiss, Innovation.
Yeah, we've been focused on creating solar energy. So we're in the
You're breaking up a little bit, but we're hearing solar energy. And I want to talk about
for solar panels, solar carports, solar recharging, and also have a pet grooming.
Love it, love it. Love the solar. And I want to say your food service certainly also is extremely innovative and cutting edge, frankly, very, very healthy and very enjoyable for the tenants. So we do have some questions. Tim Foley from the BRI, and we want to go through these really quickly. We can't have in-depth answers, but Tim asked for communities unlike New Rochelle and soon to be White Plains who haven't taken a look at reforming and improving the review process and timeline, what's the biggest factor causing them to still hold back? Anyone have any insight into that? Joe?
Yeah, well, I think it's great that we're congratulating ourselves on all the big cities. So what we've spoken about, Yonkers, New Rochelle, White Plains, but the rest of the counties in the desperate need for help. The review process has stilted the growth in Westchester, and I think it's the biggest challenge. I mean, sadly, there's no places for workforce housing or our young people in any of the better suburbs, including right along. I think this is a huge problem, and I think our aging population should be something of great concern. So we're not that sanguine about Westchesters Future, other than the only place to get approvals has been the big cities. The seeker process is a disaster, and unless some of the towns take a lead from what New Rochelle did with an expedited seeker process, they're doomed to have stilted growth, and I think their economies will suffer accordingly. Main streets are in desperate shape. We're doing a master plan project in Brewster, the village of Brewster in Putnam County, where they're doing a master development for the whole village because it's in such bad shape and it's been neglected, but it's taken 10 years. So I know I know we don't want to talk about anything negative, Marcia, but
No, that's okay. We want to be realistic, and we want the impetus to keep moving forward. We want.
The Business Council does great work, but this I think would be interesting. And the affordable housing, Bill has been a missionary, frankly, in some of these communities. But other than some efforts like his and others, the county's dying and it's aging, and we can't have senior assisted living projects in every wealthy community because they don't want school children. What society is anti-school children?
Thank you, Joe, for that perspective. And you can count on the Business Council of Westchester's commitment. I know Tim Foley, who questioned. Tim, I'll speak for you. Their commitment to moving this forward. David, I think I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, look.
A few more minutes, yeah.
Joe's right. New Rochelle was forward thinking, but also didn't happen overnight in getting that approval process. In fact, they actually tried multiple times before they were able to move forward in 2014. And even the 2014, while it was passed unanimously by that city council, there was a lot of groundwork and a lot of conversations. And Joe, I think your point is the right one. It's not about being negative. We need to have this conversation, right? You can't be pro for affordability, but anti-density. You can't be for sustainability, but against growth, right? So these are just unfortunately economic truisms. And so the question I think that we have before is, how do we move forward not only as a county, but also these individual municipalities? How do they create a development plan that addresses the need, but also is unique to their own individual community? That's what was key about New Rochelle. And that requires conversations. We got to have a lot of conversations that not just, I'm a fan of a saying, representation without action, right? At the end of the day, we need to find ways to move forward, because right now it's so,
can't do it themselves. They don't have the willpower. The communities will not do it. So, you know.
well, and Joe, but to my point though, everybody on this call has worked with different municipalities. Everybody probably watching in. It is a collective effort that right now is a crisis that we have to figure out a way to address.
Absolutely. And I just want to emphasize that under John Ravitz's leadership, the Business Council of Westchester has been really focused on reform of the secret law. We will continue to work with all of you individually and collectively, most important, through our coalition. So you can count on our continued commitment to that. I know there were some specific questions. Someone asked about the YMCA in White Plains. If you email me, I will direct you to Cindy Delfino, who can answer that. Someone asked about Mount Vernon and how to get into those apartments, Rella. So if you again, if you email me, I will share that with Rella. Quick thing, Joe Cotter. Lots of questions here about how to attract movie studios and other job creations. And what I love, is Joe still on? Yes, I see Joe here. Sorry. For a minute, I lost you. What I love is opening up those page of job opportunities at Lionsgate. How do we do that? Can you answer that in 1 minute? Or
Well, I mean, we have a website. I think it's called Studio Jobs Yonkers for people who are looking, but we are reaching out for literally hundreds of jobs. And we are focused on trying to hire locally as close as possible. But you know, I think it's going to be a great boost in the arm for a new industry to come into Westchester like that.
wonderful. And then finally, the cost of inflation, the cost of the supply chain, product availability. Are we going to get beyond that? Are we going to be able to deal with that?
I've ever seen in my life. Been doing this for 50 years. Don't want to date myself, but for 50 years, and I've never seen anything like this in my life. And how you plan out, and how we are all planning out projects for delivery in 2 years that are multi-$100 million projects, with everything going up on a weekly basis, aluminum and glass and electric, everything going up. And I'm not just talking about wood. It is absolutely a challenge. I am afraid that what's going to happen is things will have to slow, so that there's not this frenzy to get materials and things, so that those materials and things will have to come down before we can pick up the slack again and go, because it cannot go on like this. We cannot sustain this unless rents go through the roof, and they won't. They're going up with inflation, not going through the roof. It's the biggest problem I foresee in the development of Westchester County and through the country, everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, we like to end on a high note, but I think ending on a realistic note, because we are all very high on what's going on in Westchester, and you are all amazing leaders, and we thank you. But there are challenges, and that really calls for continued work, continued sharing of opportunities, continued sharing of solutions and legislative work, and working together as colleagues. And so we want to thank you all on behalf of John Ravitz and Dr. Heidi Davidson and myself for your leadership, and especially want to thank PCSB Bank, our title sponsor, Simone Development Companies, the Office of Economic Development, who supports so much of this development. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, John McDonald and George Latimer, of course. And thank you to RM Friedland and President Sarah Jones Maturo for your leadership. This has been a fascinating conversation. It is on social media if you want to share it, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. It will live in our Business Resource Center if you want to see it again. So many comments coming on here. And we appreciate your lively interest and your lively discussion. Thank you so much. We wish everyone a great day. Stay tuned for more on this.
Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you very much, Marcia.
Great.